Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's David. Today we are talking about why I decided to spend money on a Fuji XT-1 in 2020/2021. And the only reason I'm saying 2021 is because at the time of this recording, it's December 26th. The year's almost over. 2020 is almost over, folks. Wow. That feels kind of weird to say. And I'm not switching to Fuji. Let me just preface that as well. I love Canon. I'm gonna shoot Canon until I basically can't shoot anymore, and I guess like until my hands fall off or I die, whichever comes first. But this is more of like explaining why I decided to buy a Fuji that's essentially 6 years old in 2020. So the first reason is really the size. I mean, look at this thing. It's tiny. This is with a 35mm f2, so it's a 50mm equivalent. And on my Canon EOS R6, I have the 24-70, which is what you're seeing right now. And then the RP, I usually use the 35mm. And this camera is still smaller than the RP with the 35. And again, when you're doing street photography, you want to be very discreet. You don't want to stand out like a sore thumb. And having a massive camera like a full frame in someone's face, kind of ruins the moment. You kind of just want to be there to observe and capture the scenery and what people are doing without really drawing too much attention to yourself. The added bonus is that because this looks like a classic film camera, people usually leave you alone because they're like, oh, there's probably a college kid shooting some film or whatever. And it's great. I like it. It's small enough where I could throw into my, pocket of my jacket or a small bag and not have to worry about it. Now, are there some trade-offs with a smaller body? Well, yeah, obviously APS-C isn't as great at gathering light like full frame, so low light conditions and results may vary. I haven't really put it to the test in super low light conditions, which I probably should at some point. And obviously the battery life is a lot smaller than the Canon battery. But again, there's small trade-offs. The other cool thing is that this Fujifilm is weather sealed, and you can't really find anything on Canon's or anybody's APS-C lineups. You can't really find a fully weather sealed camera and an APS-C lens. Like they usually kind of leave some features out, so you have to go out and buy something like a full frame, or they're more expensive glass, or go to third party, which may or may not always give you the best results because of connectivity issues. But yeah, I mean, size definitely matters in this case. And yes, I totally made a size matters jokes. You can stop laughing now. So reason number 2 is the lens selection. Fujifilm, in my opinion, I think has the strongest lineup of APS-C lenses out of anybody in the market. And obviously, they make APS-C cameras, so they have to have a good lens mount. But what I mean by that is that if you look at something like Sony with their A6000 series, or the Canons with their APS-C mirrorless cameras like the EF mount, you don't really see a lot of native glass that's good. And by good, I mean it doesn't have like a cheap plastic housing. It's weather sealed, or some sort of like variable aperture for the zooms, and specifically more so on the Canon side, because I think they love variable aperture zooms on the EOS M line of cameras. And like if I want, say, a 24-70 equivalent for the Fuji, there's a 16-55 f2.8 that's weather sealed. That's also affordable. If I want like a 50mm equivalent, there's the 35 1.2, there's the 35 f2 that's weather sealed. So there's a lot of options. If I want something like a 70-200 equivalent, there's a 70-200 equivalent on Fuji that's also weather sealed, and it's a 2.8, and it's a constant aperture. So my point is that they actually fleshed out their APS-C line of cameras, and they're not just kind of like, oh yeah, here's an APS-C camera and here's some lenses for the beginners, here, go shoot. No, like they actually understand that not everybody wants full frame. And also because it's APS-C, the cost of the lenses are a lot cheaper compared to full frame, which is kind of like what my next point is going to be, which is the pricing. Grand total for this Fuji setup was $715. That was $315 for the used body, which was in 9 out of 10 condition at Sammy's. A couple scuffs here and there, but it works. Looks brand new. And then the lens was $400 brand new. And I have a little awesome compact quality setup that I could trust myself to get some really awesome shots in street photography. And I mean, shit, I would feel comfortable taking this on a professional shoot, you know, for say something like portraits or product photography. And that's the other cool thing is that if I want to buy lenses that have weather sealing, for example, and I keep talking weather sealing because I like to shoot in the rain, it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg like, say, something like the Canon or Sony's. Because the problem with those manufacturers is when they make APS-C cameras, they kind of make them to say, oh yeah, here's like a budget alternative to full frame, but we want you to come back and spend money on full frame. So here's a decent camera and some decent lenses. Have fun. When you get good, come back and spend, you know, a couple $1,000s on new shit. I know Sony's gotten better with their APS-C cameras, and they do have more of a native selection for APS-C only lenses, but they're expensive. I mean, and again, this 35mm was $400. I can't think of any lens, brand new, not used, that's subjective, but brand new, that's fully weather sealed and produces quality results and isn't using a like crappy plastic feeling body. It actually feels premium. And I don't think you could get any of that anywhere on the market other than Fuji. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that they're really crushing it with the APS-C cameras, and they're listening to their audience. And it actually begs the question now, like, do you really need full frame? Or can you grow and stick with APS-C, and really your needs are going to be different than my needs? And I haven't shot APS-C in years. I went to full frame and I never looked back, but now I'm kind of rethinking that a little bit more, especially because this APS-C system kind of like opened my eyes to see things a little bit differently in terms of what I need as a photographer and videographer second. And yeah, I mean, also I apologize if I'm rambling. I'm trying to make this as raw as I can without having to sound like I'm reading from a script, because I'm trying to get better at kind of like monologuing. So, but yeah, I mean, those are really my thoughts on the Fuji. What do you guys think? Do you guys think I made a mistake in buying a Fuji? Do you guys agree or disagree with some of the points I've made about like other camera manufacturers and their APS-C lineups? Comment down below. Let's get a discussion going. I would love to hear from you guys. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram at DLoVisuals. If you want to see some of my street photography, follow me at DLo's Urban Life. Links down below. And subscribe. I hate having to tell you guys to do all this stuff at the end of the video, because I think everyone does that, but you get the idea. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. And I can't do this because I'm too far. So, fade to black now.